It is March 26, 2022, and you're watching The Code Report. I use Arch, by the way. It's a phrase reserved for the most elite and disciplined Linux users, and it's completely off limits to all of us soy devs on our MacBook Pros. Until now, because just last week, a new Linux distro called Asahi has brought the Linux experience to Apple Silicon. I couldn't believe it myself, so I did some investigative developing and dropped $2,000 on a MacBook Pro to try it out for this video. What I found was absolutely shocking. It actually worked somewhat okay for the most part. Apple Silicon has been a game changer in the computing world, which uses bleeding edge technology to create blazingly fast chips with the ARM architecture. And blazingly fast is no exaggeration here. They're literally the most powerful consumer chips on the market. There's just one small problem. Like everything in Apple, they live within a walled garden, which means you can really only run macOS on those chips, primarily because it's missing drivers to do anything useful, and there's virtually no documentation to figure things out. However, everything we're doing here is perfectly legal and there's no jailbreak involved. It's not like iOS where the bootloader is locked down to prevent you from loading another operating system on it. M1 Macbooks give you access to the bootloader, but don't expect a great developer experience working with it. Asahi means rising sun in Japanese, not to be confused with the beer of the same name. It comes from a team with a lot of experience bringing Linux to weird places, like the PlayStation. It just had its first alpha release a few days ago, so buckle up for the Asahi Linux experience. First, my mom took me to the local Apple store so I could use my birthday money to purchase a MacBook Pro with a state-of-the-art M1 chip. After that, we had lunch at the Olive Garden. When I got home, I opened it and immediately entered the command to install Asahi Linux. Git wasn't installed, so it recommended I install Xcode, which took a couple of hours. Once that was done, I tried again, but then needed to update my system to macOS Monterey. That took another couple of hours. Once that was done, the command finally worked. When you start it up, it will take you through a variety of options, but most importantly, it will make a partition on your hard drive to install a completely separate operating system. What you'll end up with is a dual boot system with macOS on one side and Linux on the other. The entire process took about a half hour, and I just went with the default options. Most importantly, at the end, it gives you instructions about how to boot up the system. You'll need to hold down the power button for 15 seconds, which will eventually bring you to a screen with multiple boot options. Choose Asahi, and it will bring you into Arch running the KDE Plasma desktop. It also comes with a setup wizard, which is basically cheating if you want to call yourself an Arch user, but it's a much easier way to get started, which is cheating if you want to call yourself an Arch user. I installed Node.js and played around with some JavaScript, and everything seemed to work perfectly fine. I didn't do any benchmarking, but my friend Alex has a great channel for stuff like that. I did have problems running vscode, but it does come with Vim out of the box. And there's a whole list of things that are known not to work at this point. Things like the GPU and neural engine, which means you can't really take full advantage of the Apple Silicon chips just yet. Still, it's a very impressive project, and most importantly, I can now say I use Arch, by the way, without being a total poser. I even had $14 of birthday money left over, so I went out and got myself an Arch tattoo. This has been The Code Report. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.